Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Mentor Age Pacific. Here we are at GIFF. We are at the Guam Museum. I have one of the directors. She is from San Francisco and she is back home for a short bit, and she is doing a tour of her movie or her film. This is Evelyn. She's with us today.
Confident.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Awesome. So shared a little bit about what she is visiting here for, but we're gonna hop into her story and then I'll come back in and share more about her later. Share one thing that most people might not know about.
One thing that many people do not know about me, especially if they've just met me, is that I actually grew up on 3 different archipelagos. So Guam being the first one. Guam is part of the Northern Marianas Islands. And then I moved to Hawaii, which is in the Hawaiian Island archipelago. And I also grew up for about 6 months in the Philippines, which is an archipelago made up of 7,100 islands. So that's a fun fact.
That's a fun fact for me too. I share that same thing.
Oh yeah!
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Sweet. You have to
Fun fact. Tell me about your story. How did you get to where you are today?
So the best way I can condense my life into a quick clip is that my story is not unique. And like most children of immigrant parents, both my parents were born in the Philippines. They taught me a lot about what it means to be a survivor, what it means to sacrifice. And there were so many qualities about them raising me here on Guam, especially, that I carried on through many themes in my life. And those qualities include being resilient, being persevering, and having self-determination. And with those qualities, no matter what adversity I went through, I constantly battle-tested those qualities and those characteristics about my identity. And it doesn't come naturally for a lot of people, but I remember many times in my life when I faced another adversity, whether it was my dad passing away or relocating from Guam to Hawaii or leaving my family to go to college by myself in San Francisco, every moment of trial and tribulation was always rooted in the fact that I had to practice those qualities again that I did learn from when I was growing up. And it wasn't easy. I think many times I was trying to take the easy way out, but we all know that's not always possible. And through understanding my parents' story, I crafted my own, and I'm here now. And it's cool because now I feel like I've come full circle, and this probably won't be the last time I also come full circle to have done many things and then come back to where it all started.
That's true. Everybody comes full circle more than once, for sure. So you talked about a little of your journey, Philippines, Guam, Hawaii, and back to SF, and now you're back home. So talk more about, what do you do now in SF? What's your base structure and what are you doing there?
Great question. So I often have like a one line in my bio that says, I am living what most people would controversially describe as living the American dream. And my mom still has no idea what my day job entails. And that's primarily because I work at a tech company, and you know, this is a relatively new industry. I specifically work at Pinterest on their international team. So my day job is I try to help Pinterest grow its user base outside of the United States.
Pinterest, wow. There should be a lot of people on Guam that either subscribe to Pinterest or are actively on it. I know some people definitely get their ideas, especially I hear a lot of people do like weddings. And they look for stuff on Pinterest for ideas, or even from my experiences, teachers look into Pinterest.
Totally.
Oh, I need classroom ideas. Like, where am I going to look?
Totally.
That's cool.
There's many use cases for Pinterest.
Okay.
It runs the gamut. Our primary verticals are in like food, fashion, home decor. A lot of people do find us through weddings, and our male demographic actually end up using Pinterest for weddings because their partners are like, hey, you need to get on this Pinterest thing, which is super funny.
Research team.
Yeah, but personally, I always say that Pinterest is what helped me survive grad school, because kind of like you, I was also in education and lesson planning but not only that, like self-care. And when you're working with a classroom full of students who are high energy and you have to put them in detention for lunch, you don't get to eat. So I had to learn how to meal prep. Not only that, but also like do classroom design, and print lesson plans and unit studies.
Yeah, that's how I did a lot of mine.
Sweet, great to know.
Okay, so I still put out that you were here at GIFF and you made a film. So that means that's not the only thing that you do. So talk to me about the film. What is it about, and then how did you get into this creative side?
Responding to the creative side, I think by design, when you come from a community that has experienced a lot of struggle, a lot of resistance, a lot of solidarity, there's a lot to draw inspiration from. And a lot of people end up turning that inspiration into a form of art, whether it's music, whether it's like a physical art medium like drawing or painting or storytelling through video. I've always been a storyteller. I think my art ancestors were storytellers. When you think about how history has been passed down through generations, that's storytelling through oral history. And the way art manifested itself in me was, believe it or not, through karaoke. And I think any Filipino, exactly, I think any Filipino can attest to the fact that the most beautiful part of our family unit is when we come together to have fun. And I have so many iconic memories in my childhood here on Guam that draw back to when we were singing as a family or having jam sessions as a family. And that form of storytelling obviously is like really malleable. Like you can write your own music or you can do a cover of another song, but that has never left me. And I remember thinking of making music videos when I was really young because they looked really cool, and I never saw brown people who looked like me on MTV or VH1, and I thought that was so cool to be able to like make your own art and be the person in it. And that was at a very young age, and I think that never left me. I ended up finishing my undergrad in media studies, where I also did a lot of video production. In high school, I was really involved in our Sabre Media program. So I went to high school in Hawaii at this school called James Campbell High School. And we had a media program that was very fortunate to earn a lot of awards. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do this for life. Like I'm gonna produce videos for life. It didn't always end up that way. I now work in tech, but thankfully my job affords me the flexibility to do stuff on the side. And because it's a passion, it's not that hard to make time for it. So that's how I pursue filmmaking on the side.
For sure. Okay, so two things that we've learned so far is you can still get your day job and pursue your passion on the side. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing, but we'll get into my story some other day. Okay, so talk about some of the struggles that you might have went through either in your educational journey or your professional journey.
This is the hardball. So something that I constantly face as someone who looks young, who is brown, who is a woman, is there's a lot of odds against me. And I say that in the most endearing way possible about a lot of folks who identify that way too. And it's not a deficit either. It's not that it's qualities I don't want to have, but they're qualities that are not often seen in the positions I hold or in the type of work I do. And that ends up being a harder narrative to tell when not a lot of people are familiar with my type of identity, or they don't often see people who look like me in those positions. So it's often this disruption of what they expect someone to be. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm often very underestimated, and I'm in spaces where I'm clearly not seen as the person in charge or not seen as the person who is leading the team, and those are really difficult moments to navigate, especially if I didn't have the self-confidence I do now, or if I was not aware of where I stand in those positions and how people are perceiving me. It also doesn't help that I have braces now, because I look 10 years younger. It just doesn't help. But I will say that it's very powerful to prove people wrong. And I know that by me existing alone and doing the things I do, I know that I'm paving the way along with several women before me, to continue to disrupt those expectations that people have, or the stereotypes people have, or the stigmas that I carry because of those dimensions of my identity.
Right on. So you touched up on some of the women before you. So of course we are a mentor channel, and so who are some of these women or some of these mentors that helped you along the way on your journey?
You know, I'm really fortunate to be raised by so many powerful women, many independent women, and when I say independent women, I don't mean that women without independent are not independent, but it's been really powerful to kind of learn from them, and I'm constantly learning from them, especially my mom. And you know, I think when you're young and you're rebellious and you like to misbehave, it's a little harder to grasp the learnings that she's trying to pass down to you. But now that I'm much older, it's easy to look back and be like, wow, that was not an easy thing for her to do. She raised 2 kids on her own, and when I say 2 kids, I mean like 2 teenage girls. And so if that's not a handful enough for her to carry, she was also raising us in another state that we were not familiar with. And she did it on her own, and she also immigrated from the Philippines by herself. She did a lot of different jobs. When she was in the Philippines, she was an attorney, but when she came to the US, she obviously couldn't practice because her law degree didn't apply to the United States. And so she started from the bottom and like literally went into different roles. She owned her own business, she got her CN degree, she went back to school to get her master's in education, and she's worked every job from like call center to service worker to running her own business. And because I saw so much of that dynamic in my upbringing, it left an impression on me for sure. And among other women would include my coach from John Robert Powers. I actually got to see her at the film festival. I have a lot of siblings, and a lot of them are women, and it's been wonderful to like grow up with them. And right now I'm surrounded by a lot of Pinays in the Bay Area, and I can't say that one person mentors me more than the other. I think everyone brings their own piece to what I take away. And I also want to acknowledge that mentors are not people that are older than me. They're also like, I actually learn even more from people that are younger than me. And so whenever I hear the word mentor, I try to disrupt the fact that it's someone older. I try to think about it being someone I can learn from.
So we're gonna kind of curve the last question a little bit, because you're not based in Guam, but you grew up here. So you kind of have this insight about living here, moving, and making that decision to kind of move out on your own in San Francisco. If you were to give any advice about like leaving Guam or staying on Guam, like from those 2 aspects, what would you say to someone?
For someone that makes a decision to uproot themselves from where they're planted, it's not always an easy decision, and it's not a decision that's solely based on one person. There's often a lot of dominoes on the line, whether it's your family, whether it's your finances, whether it's the opportunities that you would have while you're here versus the ones that you expect to have when you relocate. And just think about that. Think about all those factors, but don't let that limit you either. What I love to live my life on is this idea that uncertainty is a precursor to rapid transformational change. And a lot of people are very uncomfortable when it comes to things that are not certain. When we don't know what the next move is, or you don't know what you're supposed to do, a lot of people kind of like short circuit, and they find it really hard to know pragmatically like where to go. But that's the beauty of being human. It's the beauty of being curious. And we shouldn't limit ourselves, because humans by design are naturally curious. We love the mystery in life. And when you decide to work against that, you're depriving yourself of the opportunity to explore. And that's sad. So do it, go for it. If the opportunity cost is at a point where it's okay for you and the people who are impacted by your decision are supporting you, there's a very clear answer. And it may not always be clear, but it's important to weigh those benefits versus what your investment is. And the risk will never leave. Risks will never leave, and that's okay. But you can grow from that, and then you can learn how to respond to the challenges that come from that next decision you make.
Okay, great advice. So last thing then, I don't know if you've seen this last question, but so we always like to project for the most part. So I asked a lot of the mentors, like, if we're thinking that it's 2028, what are you doing? What does 2028 look like for you?
Ooh. Well, considering the last time I was in Guam was 10 years ago, let's hope it doesn't take until 2028 for me to come back. That's a really good question, considering even where I am now, I did not expect to be 4 years ago. I would hope that I continue maintaining a role at a place of employment that I am internally, emotionally, mentally, and like just physically happy in. It doesn't matter where, but I would hope that I find some sort of equilibrium in like whatever space I'm in, and still be able to pursue my passions on the side. So wherever that may be, as long as I have these pillars of values that allow me to pursue the passion, pursue the profession, and if they blend, even better. But I always want there to be some wiggle room for growth. I always want to continue learning. I never want to stop learning. Last year I had a target goal to read 30 books. So we'll see by 2028 how many books I've read, how many movies I've seen, how many tennis matches I've watched, how many karaoke songs I learned. But yeah, I in 2028, I hope to have never removed the pillars of my life that are rooted in my values.
Thank you for sharing that. So we're going to hold her accountable. We're going to wait until 2028 and see where we're at. We're going to thank Evelyn for being on the show today.
Thank you, Alvin.
All right. Until next time. Thanks, guys. Thanks guys for tuning into Mentor Asia Pacific. Once again, I'm Alvin Sanga. Check out all our social media, that's going to be linked down below. Stay tuned, more mentors are to come. We're going to be releasing a mentor every week. And please leave a comment down below for any mentors that you'd like to be featured on the channel, any business professional, entrepreneur, or anybody that you believe is inspiring and can provide to be a mentor for the youth as well. Until next time, thank you very much. Sanga out.